leader of the Mercosur member countries meet on Thursday in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, for the 63rd Summit of Head of States and Associated States. In Gaza, Palestinians continue to face relentless Israeli bombardment as it entered this third month. And the Russian President Vladimir Putin and his Iranian counterpart Ibrahim Raisi discussed transport, energy, and joint economic projects at a bilateral meeting in Moscow. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. Moving with the news, stay with us. The leaders of the Mercosur member countries met on Thursday in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, for the 63rd Summit of Head of States and Associated States. The event included the return of Bolivia to the regional bloc, the announcement of the free trade agreement with Singapore, and the attempt to materialize the negotiations for a treaty with the European Union. On the other hand, Brazilian President Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva will hand over the pro tempore presidency of the bloc to his Paraguayan counterpart, Santiago Peña. In this context, Peña announced that if he takes over the presidency of Mercosur, he will immediately withdraw from the negotiations if the treaty with the EU is not concluded, which will completely paralyze the process that has been going on for more than 20 years. The president of Peru, Dina Boluarte, completes 1 year in office this Thursday in the midst of a political crisis in the face of a growing rejection by the citizens. Dina Boluarte completes 1 year of the head of the Peruvian executive after the institutional coup that deposed and imprisoned the democratically elected president Pedro Castillo. In this sense, social sectors denounce the alliances between the executive of Boluarte and the factors of the political ultra-right, as well as the deteriorations of the labor rights and the incursion of U.S. troops. In this regard, different social organizations call for a mobilization in the capital of Lima to demand her resignation and other state powers, as well as the convocation of an constituent assembly to reform the state. In Peru, the National Justice Board unanimously ordered a 6-month suspension of National Prosecutor Patricia Benavides. The magistrate of the board took to the decision as part of an immediate disciplinary procedure since she is accused of alleged leading a criminal organization. Furthermore, the official statement emphasized that measures aimed to prevent any obstacles and guarantee the effectiveness of the final resolution. Meanwhile, the head of the public ministry at the beginning of the hearing stated before the court that she will summon to any type of investigation as long as her constitutional rights are respected. The investigation of the special team of prosecutors against corruption of the power and the national police is Operation Valkyria V, alleged that Patricia Benavides leads a criminal organization within the public ministry.
I submit to any type of investigation in which my constitutional and fundamental rights are respected. However, you have instituted a type of procedure that I believe violates my right to defense and the right to due process. For this, I have filed several mechanisms, and I have not received any response to date.
On Wednesday, Colombian and Brazilian police forces jointly dismantled 19 illegal gold mining sites in the Amazon in a historic operation by air and land that destroyed dredges and hid the finances of criminal organizations. Videos released by the Colombian police shows huge burning machinery along the Amazon River, while helicopters of the forces fly over the area and attack from the air. The binational operation is a milestone in the fight against the illegal exploitation of mining deposits and the contamination of a mega-diverse region, the police said in a statement.
Illegal economies were directly affected, especially the illegal exploitation of mining deposits. In this operation, exactly 19 dredges that were dedicated to the illegal exploitation of gold were destroyed.
Venezuela's Minister of Defense, Vladimir Padrino Lopez, informed that the resolution of the operative zone in integral defense of the Eastern Guiana were designed after the results of the consultative referendum of December 3rd. In his X profile, the Venezuelan minister stated that in response to the will of the people of Venezuela expressed last December 3rd in a consultative referendum and in compliance with the instructions of my Commander-in-Chief Nicolas Maduro, we have signed today the respective ministerial resolutions appointing the generals who will be in charge of the operational zone of integral defense of Guayana Esequiba and their respective areas of development. Today, we have signed the respective ministerial resolutions designating the generals who will be in charge of the operative of the defense of the Guayana Esequiba and its respective areas of integral development. Let's go them. Let's work for our territorial integrity because this Esequiba is ours. And also on Thursday, Venezuelan Foreign Minister shared on his X account he held a meeting with Premier of Dominica and pro tempore President of the CARICOM, Roosevelt Skerrit. The Venezuelan diplomat stated that the meeting aimed at informing Skerrit about the results of the December 3rd referendum, in which Venezuelans voted overwhelmingly in favor of the defense of the Guayana Esequiba. He also informed the Dominican Premier of President Nicolas Maduro's determination to address the territorial dispute with Guyana through direct negotiations in accordance with the Geneva Agreements in order to guarantee peace in the region, respecting the sovereignty of both countries and without external interference. On Thursday, in the U.S., basketball player LeBron James sharply criticizes the nation's legal systems regarding the possession of firearms. In the aftermath of the shooting at that college campus in Las Vegas that left 3 deaths, the world-famous athletes once again called for stricter gun control legislation.
We're the only ones who keep dealing with this same story, the same conversation every single time it happens, and it just continues to happen. And, you know, the ability to get a gun, the ability to, you know, to do these things over and over and over, and there's been no change is literally ridiculous. It makes no sense that we continue to lose innocent lives, and, you know, on campuses, on schools, at shopping markets, and, you know, movie theaters and all type of stuff. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and the fact that we haven't changed anything. It's actually been a lot easier to actually be able to own a firearm. It's stupid.
Former U.S. President Donald Trump returned to court on Thursday for his civil trial in New York on fraud charges. Donald Trump, a front-runner for the Republican presidential nomination in 2024, and his 2 grandsons are accused of inflating the value of their real estate assets to receive more favorable bank loans and insurance terms. The U.S. presidential candidate previously testified on November 6th and is expected to take the stand again on December 11th. Trump is also facing federal charges for allegedly mishandling top-secret documents after leaving the White House and has been indicted on branded charges in Georgia over allegations that he tried to overturn the 2020 elections results in a southern state. During his appearance, he once again claimed that the case is decided against him before it even began and called the judges in the case crazy and unhinged. Let's take our very first break, but remember you can now join us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, where you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. Palestinians in Gaza continue to face relentless Israeli bombardment as the site in the Strip enters its third month. Israel continues to scale its attacks, particularly in its southern areas, including the border city of Rafah. Airstrikes have killed and injured numerous Palestinians in various locations across the Gaza Strip. In face of these events, UN Chief Guterres has invoked for the first time since he came to his position the rarely used Article 99 to force the Security Council to address war in Gaza.
While we were sleeping, we had a recurring nightmare, rubble above us. Everything turned red and there was nothing but death around us. We had nothing to do with it, but it seemed that the house next door was overcrowded. People's houses are full of innocent people who had nothing to do with it. We did nothing wrong, but the Israelis persist in taking revenge on all members of the Palestinian people, old and young.
In this context, at least 17 Palestinian civilians were killed and thousands wounded after an attack of a house in the Agassi refugee camp in central Gaza. According to Wafa News Agency, the house attack in the early hours of the morning was residence of the Al-Mashi family, which was home to several displaced families. A similar attack was repeated in the Shabura refugee camp, where 6 others Palestinians were killed.
There were 3 big explosions. Then we saw one more in the apartment upstairs. My brother's apartment was completely destroyed, along with the floor below. There are a large number of dead, about 20 martyrs, not counting the wounded, most of them children and women. It was a direct hit. People were walking in the street. There was no warning. We saw nothing except the attacks on our homes without warning.
Meanwhile, hundreds of citizens gathered at UN distribution centers, waiting to receive food, and the Israeli occupation resumed its attacks against the Palestinians. In this regard, about 100 trucks were delined through the Rafah crossing near the border with Egypt, compared to almost 100 trucks that entered the Strip during the ceasefire between Hamas and Israel. In Palestine, citizens denounced that the Israeli occupation forces of the Zionist regime have killed their children and have caused forced displacements from their homes.
Unfortunately, the large figure of displaced Palestinians already amounts to over 1.5 million. People are forced to evacuate once, twice, and 3 times from one area to another.
Somos de la ciudad de San.
We are from the Al-San city. We were displaced from our city. They threw us leaflets ordering us to leave. Then they threw us out and we sheltered in schools. Then from those schools we had to flee to Khan Yunis. We left Khan Yunis to Rafah. We have no water, we have no food, we have nothing.
No tenemos nada, ni tiendas de
We have no tents and we are already in the rainy season. The situation is as you are seeing it. Look at these children, nobody cares about them. Nobody asks about us. There is not a single human being who has asked about our situation.
Now Palestinians are confused. They don't really know where to go. No place is safe in Gaza. No one is safe in Gaza. It doesn't matter if you are a military or a civilian, if you are a common citizen or if you are a doctor, a journalist, it doesn't matter.
Somos habitantes de Khan Yunis.
We are inhabitants of Khan Yunis. We come from one displacement to another one, from Khan Yunis to Rafah City. We want a truce, we want a ceasefire. We beg the Arab League, the European Union, the United States for stopping fire. We've had enough. They've killed our children, our women, our elderly. We demand an international solution to solve our problem right now.
A nuestros ancianos.
Every 2 years there is war. We want to free ourselves from this great calamity in which we are sunk.
Hay una guerra.
We are fed up with our lives, our children are dying from cold, and the only international solution we find every day is to take us from one place to another.
Están muriendo de frío.
Now they tell us they want to deport us like immigrants to Sinai.
In recent weeks, Israel has killed over 60 Palestinian journalists. According to the Ministry of Health of Palestine, over 200 medical workers were murdered. The reason why they don't have accurate figures is because many of those people have been trapped under the rubble for weeks.
Let's take our last break, but before we invite you to join us on our website community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on the screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay informed and connect with teleSUR. When financial break, don't go away. Welcome back. European Union leaders met with President Xi Jinping in Beijing during the first face-to-face summit between the bloc and the Asian country. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen urged Chinese President Xi Jinping to responsibly address and manage the concerns that China and the European Union have when their interests do not coincide. She also said Brussels and Beijing have to find solutions to global challenges and establish a just and lasting peace in the conflict in Ukraine and the Middle East.
China and the European Union should be partners in mutually beneficial cooperation, constantly enhance political mutual trust, build strategic consensus, consolidate congruence of interests, eliminate all kinds of interference, strengthen dialogue and cooperation, and benefit the people of both sides. We should jointly respond to global challenges and work together to promote global stability and prosperity.
The President of the European Union, Ursula von der Leyen, announced some of the issues to be discussed at the summit as she stressed the importance of counting on China as a commercial ally.
We'll discuss how to rebalance our economic relation. China is the European Union's foremost trading partner, but there are crystal clear imbalances and differences that we need to address.
On Thursday, Russian President Vladimir Putin and his Iranian counterpart Ibrahim Raisi discussed transport, energy, and joint economic projects in Moscow with the aim of strengthening bilateral relations and discussing the global political realities. The Iranian president was received by the Russian Deputy Minister Alexander Novak and diplomatic staff of the Eurasian country to later meet with President Putin in the Kremlin. The two presidents also discussed the side of Israel and Palestine and latest events in the Gaza Strip. In Russia, the upper house of the Russian parliament on Thursday set a date for the next Russian presidential election. During a meeting on Thursday, the Federation Council set Russia's presidential elections for March 17, 2024. In view of the decision, the chairwoman of the Russian Central Election Commission, Elad Pamfilova, thanks the decision of the Federation Council and stressed that the future elections will ensure the strengthening of the country's development. In Sudan, at least 86 people, most of them children and women, were killed by floods in the northwestern part of the country. The most affected region is the state of Al Weda in the northwest of the African country, where the floods have caused the destruction of homes and a spread of hunger through the disappearance of the largest agricultural areas. Thousands of families have been displaced by the floods. Local authorities warn that the affected areas are without food and medical supplies, and some of these communities are at risk of the spread of a deadly disease. In Seychelles, President Webel Rakalawan declared a state of emergency on Thursday, ordering citizens to stay at home after a blast at an explosive store and floodings due to heavy rains caused massive damage. The explosion happened in an industrial area in Mahe, the largest island in the Indian Ocean archipelago, causing huge damage at the site and to surrounding areas, the presidency said in a statement. The international airport is still operational, and ferry services between islands are running for visitors. Rheumatoid arthritis drug may slow the progression of type 1 diabetes, according to a landmark clinical trial in Australia. In a world first clinical trial, Australian researchers have found that a drug where is it inhibited, can preserve the body's own insulin production, reducing the amount of insulin needed to treat the disease.
With this new trial, we're trying to modify the course of the disease. We're trying to preserve the amount of insulin that the person with diabetes makes themselves. And by doing that, we are putting them in a better position to control their diabetes very well into the future. Instead of managing diabetes once the body's lost the ability to produce insulin, we're actually preserving the natural way that people make insulin. What the drug does is, if you like, it stops the immune system interacting with the insulin-producing cell, and it prevents the immune system from destroying the insulin-producing cell.
We have come to the end of this news brief, but before saying goodbye, we want to thank our Caribbean audience, especially the audience of Trinidad and Tobago. We're pleased to share our newscasts and contribute to provide an alternative news sources of the latest world events. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net, and also use on our socials. We're on Facebook, on X, and on Instagram as well. For telesur English and from the South, I'm Ana Marrero. Thank you for watching.